And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On our latest show that you can catch right now, wherever you get your podcasts and on radio stations worldwide. Of course, you got Josh and I talking about recapping the box office. Also talking about a lot of things going on in the video game industry, including Hellblade 2, which is available right now on Xbox. Hopefully, I will get a chance to go ahead and share my thoughts on that on the Friday show, but you can also hear my thoughts on the Monday show talking about that and so much more right there for you on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Big shout out to Kurt. Big shout out to Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Xbox out there. Also, go ahead and check out our good friends, John Costa, who is on with me late night. Go ahead and check out what he's doing every day at Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Also as well, Stone Hansen. He is the man behind at report_court. Go ahead and check out what he's doing to cover the NBA draft. Also as well, of course, Joe Soro. He is just gruffed at me that he is not going to be available for a few days because he's doing some Simblades with a Y.com. Good friend also as well to the show is Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Also as well, of course, Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, John McCalian channel. All these great channels are awesome, and please support them. But also, you can help us out by finding a friend out there, telling them to like and subscribe to our channel. And please go ahead and like and subscribe yourself, because that way you'll get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. How in the heck do I know, Kurt? You sound more and more like Cool Bro every day, which I don't know if necessarily that's a good thing, but that's okay, Kurt. That's okay. But of course, thank you, Blue Magic. Great to be here. It is the Lakers Fast Break. We just got finished with Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And as you heard on my analysis, along with the awesome Laker Nick and the Nostradamus himself, Alan, in the chat, the Mavericks defeat the Timberwolves 108-105 to take a 1-0 advantage. And I can tell you right now, Dallas got the kind of scoring from Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic that they needed, but they also got the bad offense the Minnesota Timberwolves got stuck in. Karl Towns and Anthony Edwards were a combined 12 of 36, and that is not going to get it done. They left too much on the plate. Their offense got bogged down, too much ISO, not enough ball movement. They were dependent on Jaden McDaniels way too much and asked him to do things that he's really not capable of doing as far as taking the ball and trying to be a playmaker. So he got 3 turnovers there. Rudy Gobert, you got to get him on lobs. If you're not getting him on lobs, it's a hard thing for him to do. So, yeah, they played right into the Mavericks' hands, and they played with their food and lost 108-105. So Mavericks go for a 1-0 lead. We'll talk more about this series and also the Boston series coming up here in a little bit, but we also want to go ahead and touch on the big news today, and that is the all NBA teams were announced. And let me go ahead and I'll put it out there here for everyone to go ahead and take a look at, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. And it comes right down to it. What are your thoughts on the all NBA teams that were announced today? And that's Sham Sharania dropping that for you. First team is Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. Second team is Jalen Brunson, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi Leonard. Third team is Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, LeBron James, and Domantas Sabonis. My initial reaction is having Giannis above Jalen, provided that he was hurt for so much of the season. What's up, LI5? Glad to have you here as always. Giannis Antetokounmpo above Jalen Brunson because Giannis was injured for a good part of the season and Jalen helped his team to a 50-win plus season and second place in the Eastern Conference. That one is probably the one that sticks out to me the most as being, not exactly thrilled with that one, but okay, it is what it is. For the most part, the 3 All-NBA teams are good. Tyrese Halliburton, who did kind of drop off in the second half once he sustained that hamstring injury, I believe it was in January. I don't know if you want to put him on the team and put someone else in his place, but I want to hear your thoughts out there. If you like the All-NBA teams, the way they're set up, Anthony Davis, AD, second team, All-NBA. LeBron James, third team, All-NBA. I think that's probably right where they're at. That's probably right where they deserve. Did you think somebody that should have been on this list that didn't get on this list? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And who would you kick out? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Stephen Curry, do you think the mediocre season from the Golden State Warriors was enough to put the vaunted Stephen Curry into an All-NBA team? He did play for the majority of the year. So yes, did Embiid whine about this yet? I don't know, because I don't think he qualified, Kurt. And I think if he's going to whine, he's going to whine on the number of games that you played. So I think that's another thing you have to look in mind is, did they play the requisite number of games, which is 65? So I got to give Stephen Curry his credit. You know, he did play requisite number of games. And I think that's what makes this harder in choosing these teams is, did they qualify for the 65 games? And if they didn't, well, then, you know, you're not going to be considered on the team. But the Giannis one over Jalen Brunson, I think that's probably the most egregious one I'd have issued with. I think that's probably the one I think that they missed, because this was a down year, in my opinion, for Giannis. Not saying he's one of the greatest players in the league, because I still think he is, but Jalen, I think, had a tremendous season. I think he should have been supported with a first-team All-NBA, but that's just my opinion. Sports Baby says Ticket TV and 2 Raw will be pissed that there is only one American on the first-team NBA. Those two have the worst 2 YouTube channels. Pathetic hater. Somebody, you know, they got to be hating on somebody, I guess, Sports Baby. So you're probably right. They'll probably go off on this list, but yeah, that's what I want to hear your thoughts on that. It is Gerald Glasser. Thanks again for watching us and truly appreciate it. Once again, the Dallas Mavericks take game 1 of the Western Conference Finals with a 108-105 victory. I thought I'd come in after game and hear some thoughts from you guys on that. And the real thing I want to talk about when it comes to all these All-NBA teams is how much money is involved when somebody makes these teams. And I'm just going to throw out a couple players out there. Bobby Marks did a good job of being able to showcase some of the highlights of ours who's making a little bit more money by what's going on today with the All-NBA team. So I thought I'd just highlight a couple of them. Let's start off with today's winner. That would be Luka Doncic, who, congratulations, really tuned it up in the second half of today's game, and deserves all the credit for helping his team get the victory today. No worries, cool bro, no worries. But I will ask this to you out there. Luka is going to be very expensive when he signs the Supermax extension. Don't tell me he's not going to sign that Supermax extension, because he will. How expensive will it be, as you see right there, starting in 26-27 at just under $60 million, bordering by the time it's over in 2030-31 at $78 million. And then you have the first player who is eligible to sign a Supermax extension, and that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That would take it over $80 million. So if he signs a Supermax extension by the end of the contract, which would be 2030-31, he would be earning $81 million. So that's what I have for you out there. I know there's a couple others that he posted on. Tyrese Halliburton, they're not as egregious. They go into the 50s or low 60s, but I know that Jason Tatum, his extension, when it gets done, will probably lead him his final year to go in the high 70s as well. So that's a lot of money. So I ask you guys out there, are all of these guys worth those big bucks? I'm going to say, if Doncic at in 2030, 31 is still playing at this kind of level, absolutely. I think he's worth it. Is SGA worth $81 million? Is Jason Tatum worth 75, let's just say 75, $77 million by the end of his contract? Are those guys that maybe don't do everything for their team? They're just focused more on scoring or certain aspects rather than making the entire team better, because those guys aren't asked to do as much of that than Luka Doncic. Are those guys really deserving of those kind of numbers? So definitely want to hear your thoughts on that here in the chat. So Kurt said it's all relative to the TV contracts the NBA is pulling in, and they're close to getting that ink dry on the new contracts that Amazon, Disney, and Comcast, aka NBC and Peacock, will be signing here soon. So I know that a lot of people are upset about the fact that inside the NBA probably only has one more season left in its current format on TNT, because TNT, Warner Brothers, will be losing the rights here in the not too distant future. So yes, cool, bro. Yes, Luka Doncic, the Dallas player. Yes, the star Dallas player. That's what we're talking about right now. So that's what I want to hear from you guys out there. I mean, yes, the big TV contract will make things a lot easier and a lot more valuable as far as the contract is concerned. So yeah, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on exactly what's going on with the with all the money and the all NBA teams. But yeah, it looks like right now, when they sign their extensions, and they will sign those Supermax extensions, that Luka's final year and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's final year will put them in and around the $80 million mark. So it's a lot of money. Yeah. Yep. That's right. That's right, sports baby. 346. According to Bobby Marks, 346, the final year being $78.8 million. That's a lot of cash right there for you. And again, Kurt has it right. I think that you guys got to be wary of what contract they sign. So it just raises the bar even higher. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it does. But definitely interested to hear your thoughts. Kurt Affair says David Zaslav decided that a year ago that his shareholders care more about earning per share than versus having NBA. That's the good possibility, because you get into that realm and you worry more about the financial dollar, the bottom line, and all that. So cool, bro. You're crazy, man. I will say though, who is Jason Tatum? Jason Tatum is a star player for Boston Celtics. Cool, bro. He is eligible to sign an extension this summer. I think it's around $350 million. Offhand, I forget, but yeah, it will be somewhere where his final year will be somewhere in the mid to high 70s, if I'm not mistaken on that. Well, I don't want to say that too much, because that's going to come back and haunt us, cool, bro, if that's the case. I hate the Celtics with a passion. I do not want to give them any reverse psychology to help them win. They already got lucked out, and with Indiana choking yesterday, they already lucked out as is. I'm hoping that now Indiana will come back strong and beat them in game 2, and then maybe take the gentleman's sweep, but that's beyond wishful thinking at this point in time. The R Bruin says Kyrie is a superstar. I know that it was asked in the chat during playback if we regret not getting him, and obviously this is the best version of Kyrie. At the time, he was not the best version of Kyrie. that you were getting at that point in time. He was coming off all the controversies and things that he had said and done in Brooklyn, so you didn't know what you're going to get. But this is the best version of Kyrie that I think I've seen ever. And in doing so, it fits right in with what Dallas has, and got, good for Dallas. Good for Dallas. So we'll see. Again, I think that Minnesota, I'm still picking them to win the series because, again, I think that they had every opportunity to win the game. This was their game to control. This was their game to win, and they blew it because their offense just stagnates and just gets caught up in too much iso ball. It's not efficient. When they spread the ball around, get the ball to the right people. And, of course, the 12 for 32 shooting for both Ant and Cat was not good. So, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of bad. Sean, what's up? Get in here, my friend. What you doing there? Get in here. It is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us. Truly appreciate it. Hitman 1010. Truly appreciate you following us on Twitch. Cannot thank you enough for doing so. Again, the Dallas Mavericks did defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight to 108-105. Take an early 1-0 advantage. I still think Minnesota, again, if they, I don't know how many more games you're going to get both Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns to both shoot poorly like they did. And if that's the case, they got to give credit to Dallas's defense for being able to make things more difficult as well. We'll see, though. We'll see. I think it's going to be a long series, regardless on that. But it is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again. Gerald said, Kurt said, not Gerald, not sure if you saw my earlier comment Sean addressed. I will go ahead and look it back for it right now. That was a choke job by Indiana. That was done by the thing is, where does the needle move on mid and lower tier players? Yes, excellent question. Do vets minimums go up, or is it just elite players benefiting? That is a great question. Excellent, fantastic question. Thank you for reminding me of that, Kurt Affair. My answer to that is it will move up marginally, but the ratio, the percentage, as you and I both know, will benefit more the top end players. The percentage there will probably be larger than what you see the mid and lower level players getting raises for, like the guys going on the two-way, the guys coming on as far as the minimum, the veteran minimums, the mini mid-level and the mid-level players. Those guys will get marginal increases, but I think the biggest increases, as you and I both know, always come for the elite players because there's such a pay disparity in the NBA. John says Edwards didn't impress me tonight. You know what, John? You're right. He was talking all that talk, and unfortunately, didn't work out. So but you know what? I will say Anthony Edwards after the game, I'm sure, as he always does, he puts the blame on himself. He puts the blame on himself and has confidence in his abilities. So he doesn't give you any passive aggressiveness. He doesn't go whine about it. He puts the blame on himself, and he goes out and he tries to get it done in the next game. So I expect a better version of Ant-Man in game 2 to most likely even up the series. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Sports Baby says the richer always get richer and the middle and lower stay the same. Again, I think there'll be marginal increases because I think the players union will probably guard against not doing that because it would be bad PR if it was just the top end players getting that kind of money and getting those kind of increases. I think that the mid and lower tier players will get marginal increases just because cost of living, things of that nature, and also the fact that it would look bad if the whole league benefits with a nice fat new contract and they weren't benefiting on that. Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is the player we just saw tonight's game, cool bro. He's a star player for Minnesota Timberwolves. It's the game we were just watching. Cool, bro. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate it. Sean, I hopefully he'll be able to come and join me on the show here. hopefully in a couple of minutes. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say about tonight's game. If not, I'll just be able to go ahead and answer your questions here on the show in regards to what's going on with the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers still interviewing candidates for their head coaching position. And we'll see if that continues, how far it continues, and if it stays away from JJ Redick. But cool, bro. You've only seen a Lakers game on TV once in your life. We run a Lakers YouTube channel talking 300 plus days a year about the Los Angeles Lakers. Cool, bro. You know why it's irritating? Because your lack of knowledge on this, what we're talking about is, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. I want to say that the candidates are still being interviewed this week by the Los Angeles Lakers. Your thoughts? I know we talked about at length. Our hesitancy. I know JSJ and others have talked about how they are not go ahead and have JJ Redick as the guy on this team. And another guy who is not thrilled to have JJ Redick on this team is a good man indeed. He is the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to be eaten by Jaws. That's what his t-shirt says. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here discussing what's going on with today's game, the All-NBA team, the Lakers as far as the head coaching experience. Yep. There you go. Classic t-shirt you have on there, my friend. First off, tonight's game, I'll give you that. 108 to 105. Dallas pulls out the victory. Again, Dallas, a good performance. You got just enough from Luka and Kyrie in each half. But I think and I got to give some of the credit to Dallas's defense, but I really think this series will depend on how good the Minnesota offense clicks. And it didn't tonight with both Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards struggling. And if they're struggling, if they don't move the ball around well enough, they go iso ball. If they look like the Lakers out there, that's not going to get it done.
Not all, Gerald. And to be fair, I think a lot of the fans of this game, along with a lot of the pundits, really underestimate the Dallas Mavericks do have quality defenders on the perimeter. Now, they don't show up every game, but they showed up tonight. And you're right. Jaden McDaniels can't be your leading scorer. If he's your leading scorer, you are not going to win this series. Now, it's one game. One game is one game. You put it behind you. Just like Gerald's daughters who maybe have a bad result on an exam, and Gerald has to tell them it's only one exam. You've got the whole semester left to make it up. So put it out of your mind. But you're right, Gerald. Minnesota needs a vapid memory about this game because they did not look organized at all.
No, they didn't. And again, that's really what's going to be the factors, how well their offense gels, and because defensively, I was right. Like the coverage, they're right. They should just ditch the drop coverage. When they swarm, double, and attack, they are really at their best. I don't know why they didn't do it tonight as very much. I think it was stupid for them not to. I would say take your chances on PJ Washington and Derrick
Mhm.
Jones Jr. hitting threes. If they do, you're going to lose anyways. If they don't, they're normally 32% shooters during the course of the season, and I'd take my chances there. But yeah, I don't understand what they were doing tonight. I think it was a poorly coached game by both Mika Nori and also as well, of course, Chris Finch. I think which is surprising for me to say, but it was a poorly coached game. And I think that
Mhm.
Dallas took advantage of it. And I know that Dallas fans, especially our good friend Frank, it's not going to like me saying this, but Jason Kidd out coached the Minnesota coaching staff tonight.
He did, Gerald. He did, and I'm with you. And I don't know how often we have to keep explaining this, Gerald, but drop coverage is just a lazy form of defense in today's game. I mean, you can incorporate it into some certain schemes and concepts, or if a defense is struggling, in a quarter or so. But Gerald's right. Eventually, a team will just figure out how to deconstruct it and just murder you over and over again because it's a lazy coach's defense for unimaginative concepts defensively, Gerald. It's almost as if you're not really thinking about other solutions and you just default to drop coverage. Well, if I have Jaden McDaniels and I have Anthony Edwards on the perimeter as a defenders, I don't need to play drop coverage. Why don't you just go to a straight up man? Rudy Gobert can play man. I mean, not very well, but he's competent enough to do it. The only two guys who would really suffer from man defense in that instance would be Conley and Cat. So I would take my chances with man rather than drop coverage. But as you said, uh, Micah and Chris Finch I guess they didn't want to play man for whatever
They didn't
reason.
want to trap, and that was the
No.
problem.
hmm And Dallas ate them up. And good on Gerald for uh giving a thumbs up to Derek Lively. Derek Lively was the best big on either team tonight. Um he did his job.
And he's a rookie. How depressing is it the fact that we didn't trade up for the guy? Again, it would have been a hard trade for us to do because they were also Dallas was trying to trade up to get him. It's one of the best rookie moves of the year, and Dallas deserves all the credit for what they did tonight.
They do. They do. And it just goes to show, you can't paint everything with a broad brush. I mean, um, Minnesota needs to find an answer here because if you go down 2-0 in your own barn, it's going to be a long, long, long couple days in between games for them to really think about what's going on here. They need to tie this series up, Jared. We talked about it the other night. If one team in this series wins two games in a row, it's pretty much lights out. Um, we're getting deeper and deeper into the playoffs. Um, and as Gerald said, Jason Kidd out coached Chris Finch and his staff tonight. And, Jason Kidd has played in a couple finals himself. He's had deep playoff runs as a player, and this is his second one as an NBA coach. So he's not unfamiliar in this territory. And Chris Finch is. And Chris Finch looked like he was lost tonight, not Jason Kidd.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. Magic Man Sports Baby is saying, do you know of a original pizza in Hamilton, Ontario?
Yes, yes, they won an award in your Las Vegas, Gerald, for their cheese pizza.
Nice. Well, there you go. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep, I've tried it. It's excellent, sports baby. If you're ever in the Hamilton, Toronto area, I've given my address several times on the show. Gerald would be happy to. I'm happy to give it out, Gerald, for sports baby. No.
Not your address.
Well, if you're in the general area, I'll drop
Reach
me a
out,
line. I'm on
Lakers
Facebook.
Fast Break at yahoo.com,
Yeah,
and
just
I'll send it to Magic Man.
absolutely. Um, Gerald, on another note,
I'm
my
just going to
team.
say this, my friend. When you open up your door and if there's just like some dude in a trench coat that's like down the street,
Mm-hmm,
just peering at you, you
mm-hmm.
did this on your own, man.
I know, man. It's all right. I got a big backyard. If somebody was a problem with me, just ring the bell.
Goes,
And
where are the
we'll
bodies
solve it.
buried, Magic Man? Oh, they're back
We'll
here. This
solve
is
it ourselves. Don't worry
stalker number
about it.
one, then there, and then I moved stalker over two to that side over there. Yeah, and then next to the pool, I've got stalker number three. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Absolutely, not gonna happen.
Okay.
Gerald, what adjustments for game two is absolutely necessary for Minnesota here? Your top adjustment.
My top adjustment is the offense. Uh, Doubling, obviously, and trapping and stop playing drop defense would be number one. But as far as defensive end, but the offense end, finding ways to make it work better. I would go to a pick and roll with Ant and Cat.
Mm-hmm.
I would go 20 to 30 times a game, pick and roll between those two, and say, try to stop me, Dallas. I dare you to stop me. Stop worrying about Gobert. Make Gobert a non-factor as far as tell it Gobert, you know what? Just go for the offensive boards or be up
Gerald,
there for
if
dunks because that's
as
all he can do.
I'm making a point here, I was hoping you could look something up for me. How many playoff games does Anthony Edwards have more than 35 shot attempts? Because I think he's going to need a couple of these games
I'll look it up.
in this series. He's going to have to put up at least 30 to 40 shots in a couple of these games because Gerald is right. Running pick and roll to death over and over again sequentially would just hammer away at Dallas. I mean, let's face it. One of the biggest worries that Mavs fans have, and I think it's in the back of Jason Kidd's mind as well, is that if Lively and or Gafford get into foul trouble, it's not as if the Mavs have somebody like Luke Cornett as a third center that they can plug in there and rely upon. You're basically gonna have, maybe PJ Washington play your small ball five, or God forbid, if Dwight Powell has a pulse, they're going to have to put Dwight Powell in there. And that is not a recipe for a Mavs victory if Dwight Powell has to play significant minutes because Gafford and or Lively are off the court.
I'm just going to say this. I think that when it comes down to it, they're going to have to figure out a better offense scheme so it flows better. But like you said, Jaden McDaniels cannot be the leading scorer on your team if you expect to win in a close game. You need your two stars to be your two stars. If LeBron and AD are shooting 12 of 32, guess what? The Lakers are losing every single time. And in the case of Minnesota, they shot 12 of 32 tonight. By the way, I don't think I've ever seen Edwards from the box scores. I could be wrong. Look, shoot a game more than 35 times. I think most I saw was 29, 30 in that range. But I think when it comes down to it, again, you have to make sure one of those two guys, if not both, get hot at what they do best. And I don't want to ever hear Karl-Anthony Towns brag that he's the best shooting big man of all time because that has grown pretty stale. And yes, he can get hot from the outside, but he needs to do it more consistently in this playoffs if the Timberwolves want to go any further. Go ahead, Magic Man. Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. That if Cat wants to be this braggadocious, then you got to back it up. You got to back it up. Walk the walk, talk the talk.
Yeah.
You got to walk the walk first, then you can talk the talk. It doesn't work in reverse. And right now, I gotta say, Cat, I mean, Daniel Gafford isn't a proficient 3-point shooter, but I think you could make the argument that Gafford, if open, can make as many shots as you can. Um, the fact of the matter is, Cat needs to show up on both ends of the floor. Your best players need to be your best players at this point in time. I mean, in different sports, the great players usually cancel each other out, but in the NBA drilled, as we know, your best players have to be your best players in the crunch time, and he just didn't show up tonight.
Once again, it is the Magic Man Sean Grice along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching this thing. Truly appreciate you doing so. Magic Man, the all NBA teams were announced. I announced it earlier to our group that's out there. And first team was Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. Second team was Jalen Brunson, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards and Kawhi Leonard. Third team is Devin Booker, Stephen Curry, Tyrese Halliburton, LeBron James, and Domantas Sabonis. So 2 Lakers were in there. I think they were in the right spots, second and third team respectively. Any of those decisions on the All NBA team stick out to you?
I didn't think Sabonis should be on the second team, Gerald.
He's on third.
I didn't think he should be on the second or the third.
Really? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Who would you got in a replacement? Mind you, the 65 game plateau has to be reached.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess maybe he gets it by default, but um, I
Because you can't put Embiid on there. I know that was
no, but I wouldn't because he wouldn't meet the criterion. Um,
well, the one that bothered me was Jalen Brunson not being in the first team and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was injured a part of the season, still being above him on the first team. I thought that was
yeah,
the one I'd
yeah.
have an
I,
issue
I,
with.
that one's not sitting well either. Uh, it didn't see. You don't have to see. I'm thinking a big, but you don't really have to like compensate like a big for a big with Sabonis. So if we're looking at a guard or a forward, um, quite frankly, given the season that he had, I mean, why wouldn't you have put Naz Reid in there
For what?
to replace Sabonis? He won sixth man.
I don't know. He doesn't play enough minutes, I think. I mean, Sabonis, as was said in the chat, led the league in double doubles on
Hmm.
a pretty successful team. What, a 45, 46 win team?
Yeah, I know. It's just, not Naz Reid played significantly better in the his fourth quarter numbers are better than Sabonis's.
True, but did he play enough minutes overall? He was a reserve.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean he's like again, I think, when James Harden won sixth man of the year, did he make one of these teams? I don't think he did
No,
either.
no.
So I think there's again, I think there's too much attachment right now in the NBA to starting, and therefore, if you're not a starter, you shouldn't necessarily be rewarded for an All NBA selection. I mean, I would have put Naz Reid ahead of Sabonis. I would have been comfortable putting, given the fact that his team had success and is in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, when you've put Halliburton maybe ahead of Sabonis,
Well, they're both on the third team.
yeah. So it's tricky. Brunson's not on there. Naz Reid should be in there. Um, did De'Aaron Fox make any of the three teams, Gerald?
No,
I
no.
would have put Fox ahead of Sabonis. I thought he had a pretty good season again. Didn't win the clutch player of the year, but I mean he was rel- uh, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, quite frankly, I think that third team you're kind of it's debatable. It really is, but I wouldn't have put Sabonis on there. I would have replaced him with Brunson or Reed. Uh, I look, Dom is a very good player. There's no question about that. I'm not a fan of rewarding numbers versus winning, Gerald.
Mhm.
I think those two guys, Brunson and Reed, contributed more to their teams being successful than Sabonis did as a starter.
Okay. All right. But yeah, it's just I don't think Nas Reed, what his overall average was, 14 points, I think, this year. Let me go ahead and get his numbers, get his stats out there just for everybody to get an idea of what's going on. 13 and a half and 5.4
I mean,
rebounds.
given
Those,
given the success the Thunder have, why do they only have one player on all three all three all in. Like, where's Jalen Williams? Where's Chet Holmgren?
True, true. I could understand that. Where's Carl Anthony Towns? But I think injuries. He didn't make the 65 game plateau. I'm not entirely sure
I
on that,
mean,
but yeah.
there's. I I wouldn't have put anybody. I wouldn't have replaced Sabonis with anybody off the Suns, the Mavs, the Clippers. Um,
Well, Booker and Durant are both on the each the teams.
yeah, I know, but regardless, I mean, though the aside from those guys, they're very top heavy, right? I mean, you wouldn't have Bradley Beal missed games that we're accustomed to seeing. Um, you know, Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. are very good players, but they don't contribute to their teams in the way that Sabonis is. He's a number one or a number two option on most nights.
Oh my
I,
gosh, 19.4 points a game, 13 and led the league in rebounds, 13.7 and 8.2 assists. That's
mhm.
pretty good stat wise. I mean, my God, for a
Yeah,
guy that OKC drafted and his first year, they just threw him out to the 3-point line. And I was watching him closely that year because I was kind of intrigued on the player he would become. They had absolutely no use for him. They just stuck him out in the 3-point lane, and that was it. They didn't think anything of him. Sent him and packaged him away to Indianapolis along with Oladipo. Indiana didn't know what to do with him until they, started to play a little bit better and a little bit better, became an all-star there. But I think he's really matured and hit a level. No,
oh,
he's
he's
not.
blossomed. Yep.
Yeah, but he's not going to be. They need a defender there in Sacramento. I get it. He is not. He plays terrible defense, but right now there's no one better getting the rebounds and playing on the inside. As far as
As far
finding
as
guys
ground,
that's
yeah,
not named Jokic. That's not
as
named
far as
Jokic.
ground and pound, it's Jokic, Sabonis, and Embiid. Those are the three best ground and pound bigs in the NBA. That being said, I'm still, fourth, still gonna stand double down, triple down. I Until I see Dom Sabonis put the team on his back and have them win a series or two and get the Kings deep into the playoffs. I'm just not sold on him being a winning player.
Oh yeah, but I mean it's a regular season award though. These all
Yeah,
NBA teams are regular season
it
awards.
is, which I mean, again, the these votes come out well after, excuse me, the first two rounds are over. I think playoff success needs to be more of a determinate factor in these selections, Gerald, rather than just regular season. That's why I profess the idea that I think all these awards and these selections need to be muted until the season is actually over, and then there can be a fair criterion and analysis of exactly who should be on the team and why.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you were Gerald, if you were going to make the list now based on the playoffs, who would you replace any of these 15 players with? Anyone?
Well, I would definitely think about trying to see if Jamal Murray has enough games. I would try to see if I could sneak him on it. Um, and I would probably do it ahead of Stephen Curry, to be honest with you. Um, Domantas Sabonis, I think he had a better season overall than even Tyrese Halliburton did. I know
Mhm.
Tyrese Halliburton had such a great first half to the season, but once he got that injury, he was, really hurting for a while and really detrimental to his team's success
Mhm.
for the months of January, February, and early March. So um, I could see somebody replacing him as well, but again, I think it's pretty fair. I think it's pretty fair. Whereas, like you said, De'Aaron Fox may have an argument. There's maybe a couple others that may have an argument that did play the 65 games, but the 65 game requirement is I think a good one. I like it. I like the fact that you have to play these games. It makes it more available to the fans and makes it more available out there. So somebody can't sneak in with that only played 50 some odd games because we complain all the time about players who Like we always talk about Kyrie Irving. How hard were we on Kyrie Irving? In the talk. So is he going to be traded to the Lakers? Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. One of the things we always had was like, hey, how many games has he averaged? 53.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to get it done. So I would think that for me, I think the three teams are good. I think that, I would just tweak it a little bit differently if I was doing it, but I don't have a true problem with any of the selections on these three All-Star teams.
Okay. All right. I mean, well, not having a Nick on there, and they were one game away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
No, they have Brunson's on there. He's second team.
I personally would have put Josh Hart on the third team as well, given the X factor he was. Numbers don't suggest it, but he Jalen Brunson is their MVP, but Josh Hart is their most important player.
Okay. I've heard that said more than once, as far as from individuals out there. I still think it's Brunson. I think the team lives or dies off of what Brunson can do. And thank you, Kenneth, for liking the video on Facebook. Truly appreciate it. So, with that said,
It's
my
it,
friend,
it's it, it- it's kind of a throwback to those '90s Knicks teams, Gerald. A lot of people would say Pat Ewing was the best player, but John Harkes was the soul of the team.
absolutely. And we saw once they all started to get injured, what happened, and we'll see tomorrow when it comes to Boston and Indiana what will happen there. Game 2. Do you see Indiana having any type of comeback in them to tie this thing up? I mean, that is a crushing loss we saw yesterday. Indiana gave that game to Boston. Boston did not win that game. Indiana lost that game. Being up 30 seconds, just have to inbound the ball. Then another turnover, costly turnover by Halliburton. Then a terrible shot that was taken by Halliburton, like a 3-pointer early in the shot clock. Just absolutely mind-numbingly bad mistakes by not just him, but Nemhard. In fact, when Neesmith was out, Carlisle put Nemhard on Tatum, and that was a dumb move because Tatum scored 5 points in a row on them. Yeah, just mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. They had this game won. Your thoughts if Indiana can actually come back? And I know Sports Baby says they're winning tomorrow, and as he's a big Indiana fan, I can understand why. But your thoughts if Indiana can pull off a miracle in game 2?
Hmm. Gerald, it's interesting. I've heard a lot of the pundits speak about how that was the first game in which Boston was in, which was decided by 5 points or less throughout these playoffs, and they executed down the stretch. Um, and we've talked about, Indiana, I think, needs to develop an identity in the last 3 minutes that isn't boneheaded decisions and bad turnovers, because that's what they're known for in a close game now. Um, and it's no excuse to be a young team. You've won 2 series. You're in the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason. You deserve to be in this spot. You played well enough. You're not executing down the stretch against teams that have scar tissue built up already. Boston's been through a lot of these moments, Gerald. 4 out of the last 6 years, you've been in the Eastern Conference Finals. You have a NBA Finals appearance in the past 4 seasons. You've been in plenty of Game Sevens. So Boston has built up a lot of scar tissue, being a young team and now being a veteran team. Indiana needs to rally and relish the opportunity that you need to win the next 2 games to try and make this a series. Because if you don't win tomorrow, you are in a press mode in game 3. And when you press yourself, Gerald, you end up messing yourself. And game 3 could end up being a avalanche of mistakes for Indiana. So, like I said, I think we talked about this before, Gerald. I expect Indiana to be in every single game. I don't believe most of the pundits when they say they expect Boston to punk Indiana at least once or twice in this series. I don't think there's going to be a game that's decided by more than 10, 15 points. Indiana has the requisite athletes. They have a, a it's okay defense at times. It's okay. It's not what we're used to with a Rick Carlisle team, but he's had to adjust his coaching style to the youth and the inexperience and the knuckleheadedness that they're prone to. But Gerald, you're right. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory last night, and in the Eastern Conference Finals, those teams end up getting rinsed. I don't expect the Pacers to get rinsed tomorrow night, but I do expect Boston to win again.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Magic Man Sean Grice and me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. I don't know if we're going to be doing a playback. Maybe Sean and Nick will run it tomorrow. We'll see. That's up to them. If they do, I'll set it up for them. But I will be back, hopefully with Sean, maybe John. I know not Joe, because Joe said he's too busy for next week. So, okay. Joe's too busy for us here at the Lakers Fast Break. But you still got us here.
I don't care what Joe's doing. If the Lakers hire J.J. Redick, you can bet your ass he'll be on here.
Yes.
Because Gerald will say we're going on as
Or if
soon as it's announced.
if Woj confirms that the Lakers will take Bronny with their first round draft pick.
And I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that within less than 10 minutes of Woj or Shams reporting any one of those two news bulletins, Joe Soro will be emailing or texting Gerald.
Hey, we're going to do a show right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So don't give me that crap that you're too busy, Soro. No one believes you.
Pale Fox makes a good point. Ben Shepard must be better than Peyton Pritchard. It seems small, but made a huge difference as Peyton outplayed him mostly always.
Ben
there
Shepard was another guy we talked about the Lakers utilizing that first round draft pick for.
Speaking of Nostradamus is in the chat right there for you, Magic Man.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is.
All right.
Yes, Mr. I'm too busy for
us. Apparently he's not too busy to troll us.
Yes, never too busy to troll. Absolutely. But before we head on,
choke a little bit on those flaming Cheetos.
Ox94 says it's never done that, you goon. All right.
A goon?
Yes, he called you a goon.
Put on a pair of ice skates. I'll show you who a goon is, Soro.
He called you a bum.
Yeah. Put on a pair of ice skates. I bet you fall on your ass before your feet hit the ice.
I could see you just giving him a checkup against the boards. Elbow first. When you go, okay, so what's the secret when you're sliding into and you're about ready to go ahead and check? I know a lot of them try to go shoulder first, but that puts your shoulder at risk. What do you usually, or what have you heard is the best technique?
To be fair, Gerald, I went shoulder first. I pulled the chicken wing. I would do the chicken wing myself. I was a stay-at-home defenseman, so that was my go-to move. If your back was turned or shoulder shimmy, I would do the flying chicken wing and make sure your face ate the glass.
I can see you doing that to Joe. That would be funny. But Bloodhound, you're right. It was an entertaining game. Again, Minnesota, if they do not execute on offense, you know what? It doesn't matter how good their defense is. It's going to go wrong each and every time. Plus that drop coverage of theirs, Magic Man, I think that's another key as well. I know that Stan Van Gundy, and you don't agree with everything Stan Van Gundy says. Not a lot of people do, but I'd have to say I agree with Stan Van Gundy. I don't know why they stuck to that drop defense. It was really, really bad because I'll just say this, Magic Man. With their best defense during the course of the Denver series and the Phoenix series was a swarming perimeter-based defense that no other those teams could match. They did not do that tonight and paid the price. Yeah, go for it, Magic Man.
Yeah, Gerald, the fact of the matter is not only was it a bad default, it was also a very basic drop coverage. There weren't many disguises. Like you said, there wasn't even a hint of faux trapping or why wouldn't you just go to a zone in that instance? I've seen teams have success against the Mavs when they're rolling if you go to a zone, but I just it. I agree. Believe it or not, I agree with Stan Van Gundy. It's a rare occurrence, much like Haley's Comet, but I actually agree with Stan Van Gundy that their utilization of the drop coverage was extremely questionable at best, and a very bad move, as it turned out, because the Mavs were able to. I'm just looking it up here. Yeah, about 1.2 points per possession on drop coverage against Minnesota tonight. It's not good. If in 100 possessions I'm averaging 120 points, and as Gerald said, Minnesota's offense can't keep up with that, you need to go to something else. Go in your bag and try something else because it's not working.
Good
And
question by Eric, but right here, just I apologize, Magic Man, real quick. Jared, he says, Gerald, how would you change the questionable challenge system? I could tell you how. Get rid of it. That would be the first thing, or just bring it down to one challenge like you had it before. You're giving these teams like two challenges now, and it's extending the game even further. It's making. I'm thinking about just saying, you know what? Let's just abandon it because it's just making the game that less enjoyable to watch. The flow. I mean, they're still getting the calls wrong on a lot of occasions.
Mhm.
These 2-minute reports are worthless. You might as well just throw them away because the only thing it does is it serves to irritate the fans. But uh, I guess bringing it back to where it was before with just one challenge a piece. I think that's probably so they're more. You're guarding. You're not going to be more thrift. You're going to be more thrifty in how you utilize those challenges if that's the case.
Yes, so t-
Less is more.
yes, 2 points. One, Gerald is correct. I've agreed with him about this before. It should really only be one challenge. You're allotted one challenge per game, and I would also stipulate that that one challenge isn't used in the last 2 minutes. Any review needs to be initiated by either the replay officials in Sea Caucus or the officials on the court. And if you do use your one challenge, if you do lose it, uh, I would uh, I wouldn't take away a timeout. I would reward the other team with two free throws.
Okay. Oh, so Joe's still in the chat trying to troll us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Not going to work, Joe. I am right, and I'm always right.
Mm-hmm.
You, Joe, are wrong, and always wrong. And there
You know
you
what,
go.
Joe? You live in beautiful San Diego. Orange County ain't that too far away. So why don't you and I rent some ice time? Is it still called the Honda Center, Gerald?
In Anaheim.
Yep. Mm-hmm. We could go up to Anaheim, rent some ice time in the Honda Center. You can put on your tutu or whatever you wear on the ice. I'll put on my shoulder pads and I'll put you on the trolley tracks, Joe.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds good. A challenge has been laid down right here at the Lakers Fast Break between Magic Man and Joe
Do you
for the
even know how to
ice.
skate, Joe?
He
And we're
knows how
not
to
talking
fall
about
on the ice.
roller skating.
He says he will Happy Gilmore your face.
Oh, okay. All right. Happy Gilmore wasn't good at hockey, Joe.
Bloodhound said San Diego's great. There's a rink in the University Town Center in La Jolla.
Oh, great. La Jolla? Even better.
Yeah.
I could be down there. Let's see. It's midnight right now. We rent some ice time, Joe. I could be there Friday morning, 10 o'clock. Let me know. I'll bring the orange slices and you can bring the sutures because you're gonna need them.
Oh my gosh. All right, YouTube. But it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Before we head on out, that's for children and old people. Wait,
What
Joe.
did he say?
That's for children and old people. This comes from the guy who dyes his hair. I've
That's a
long since,
shot.
yes. So you're getting up there in age yourself, old man, just like me. So,
Mhm. Yeah, Joe, you have a dental plan, right?
Alan, what's up, my friend? Great to have you here. Joe's. When is Joe not taking shots, Alan? Exactly. So,
Joe, if we got on the ice, you'd be singing "All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth."
Clutch Sports had a pro day. Was it a Brawny showcase? Easy, yes. That's one thing I wanted to go ahead and appreciate you mentioning that. Was that Clutch Sports did have a pro day, so to speak, like most of the colleges do for so that pro scouts can get a better look. Clutch, your thoughts on this, my friend? More exposure for Bronny James as far as, and also, of course, whoever Clutch Sports is representing for these NBA draft choices. But of course, this draft no longer is centered around Alexander Sarr or any of the Reese Shea or any of the other big names or used to be big names on the list. They're more centered around where Zach Edey goes and where Bronny James goes. So your thoughts, my friends, my friend, on this pro day for Clutch Sports, and if it means that there's even a better chance that Bronny James will get drafted.
Gerald, is there any scenario that you could see where Edie and Bronny James are within, say, 5 to 10 picks of one another?
I really think the Lakers, he's going to last to 55, and the Lakers are going to pick him at 55. I
Yeah,
really
that's
hate
what
to
I
say
think
that.
so too.
I really don't want it to happen. I don't think it should happen. I think they should just let it. If he goes to 55 and he's there at 55, let it go and see if you can get him on a two-way if you're really that desperate to get him. I just don't think it should work out at all. I just don't think he should be an NBA draft player. I think he's just really should go back to school. I just don't understand why we're all the fascination is there. He's a 6'1" shooting guard that doesn't shoot well and has iffy defense right now at the pro level.
And yeah, and as we read earlier, Gerald, from a scout, a positional athlete at best. That does not bode well for an NBA career if you're a positional athlete. That means you're in a lane and you're going to stay in that lane for as long as you're playing the game. So I agree. It's I don't want to use the word "it's a shame" or "it's a sham" because it's not. It's more of a complicated situation made more complicated by poor decisions
Yep.
by pundits, the sports media, ESPN, Clutch Sports. Um, you know, uh, w- uh, uh, forgive me if I'm wrong, Gerald. aren't agents bound to give, like, legally the best advice to their clients without any kind of ulterior motive? Because there are repercussions for giving bad advice, and it just seems that Rich Paul and Clutch, along with his, I don't want to say it, but it seems like his father is also giving him some misguided advice here about, you know, because the proof is in the pudding. The combine was not good, and he hasn't gotten stellar reviews. Quite the opposite. They've been very bad, and I think it would behoove Bronny to follow, you know, and it's not just Gerald's advice, it's logical advice to go back to USC for at least another year. Like Gerald said, you probably need all 4 of your eligible years to um, get your get your game up to a level where you're seasoned. You're not green, and it's green bordering on black right now, Gerald, because it appears that the only team interested in drafting him is the Lakers.
Yeah.
Uh, there was that goofy article about somehow the Utah Jazz being interested in Bronny James. That just reeks of Danny Ainge trying to play the Loki of the NBA draft again at the expense of the Lakers. Um, as far as Edie goes, Gerald, I've been kind of thinking about this one. There are a couple teams tied to him, but don't you think there's going to be a mystery team
Well,
that that,
I
that
can tell you
shows?
right now, yeah, there'll be a mystery team that's going to probably rise up Edie probably higher than he should be drafted. Eric has a good point. I'm thinking Filipowski will be gone by then, Eric. That's why I didn't put his name in there.
I hope
Where
not. I hope not.
where
But
does
I
have a
think you're
chance
right.
to stretch it out. Good athlete, 7 foot, can protect the rim. I don't know if he'll end up being like another Jackson Hayes, but he does have the ability to possibly stretch the floor. And it's that possibility. That's probably the reason why, if he's there, I would take him at 17 above Edie. Plus, he's more athletic and can run down the floor and play a little bit better as far as not necessarily drop coverage. He can play a little bit more on the man,
Hmm.
a little bit better than what Edie
Hmm.
can do. Edie is, I mean, I understand he is closer to Donovan Clingan than, what people originally thought, which was surprising. But I still think Edie is still very much on the slower side athletically, and that will cost him in the league. You have to center an offense around him and center a defense around him, and I think that's going to be really hard to do more than just 10 to 15 minutes a game. It's really hard to find. I mean, if that's the case, Boban would have found a consistent place in the league as far as at a higher level than what he ended up being, rather than just a novelty that comes out in blowouts.
And you'd have to sacrifice pace as well, right, Gerald?
Mhm.
Because you'd basically need a bench that was more more slow, more plodding, more methodical to accentuate Edie's strengths rather than a fast-paced team where, like you said, Gerald, he is not in a condition to play for a team that plays with pace. So, like Gerald has said, and Stone has said, it's going to take a particular team who has a certain vision of what Edie can bring them off the bench, because he's definitely not a starter. And I can only think of like a handful of teams outside of OKC that would be able to implement him into their bench like that, Gerald. N- there's really no team in the Southwest Division that would really bring him in. You're looking at a division that has Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembayama. Houston has Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams next year. Um, who knows what New Orleans is going to do at the center position, but you need to address, a center that can play with a little bit of pace in that division. The Pacific Division, I don't think that's the case either. You have Anthony Davis, Sabonis, Zubats, um, Jock Landell. Um, it's not really. He needs to fit into a certain system. Gerald, surprisingly, don't be shocked if the Raptors find a way to sneak up into the draft
I
and
think you
draft the
start. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, and draft um, the Canadian. I'm using that word, the Canadian, to basically get some headlines and for Masai Ujiri to kind of appease um, the Toronto crowd because Gerald, the Raptors do have a history of doing this. I'm sure you remember when the Raptors had their only number one pick in NBA draft history. Um, I'm not sure if you knew this, Gerald, but there are a lot of Italians in the Toronto area.
They don't
And
have to. They're at 19, so they don't have to move up to get Edie. I don't think the Lakers are going to take him. I think that's just a little too high. I have not seen his draft stock that high. I've seen his draft stock high as the mid 20s so far, and I just don't. This is a guy who, again, as I said
you don't think
before,
OKC takes a shot there?
no, I don't think. I just don't think he's. I think they want somebody that's more athletic. I know that people are talking about Edie. Oh, he can stretch. He looks like he can stretch the floor a little bit. Okay, if that's the case, again, his pace does not fit what Oklahoma City wants to do with their young athletic, guys that are going around there. I think Toronto. I think at 19 they might think about getting him there, like you said, because the Canadian factor and the fact that they do need help and do need size. I just think it's in the Lakers' best interest to look elsewhere than Edie. I think that again, I said where, but Filipowski.
Well, Gerald, let's put it this way:
Well,
there
look who it is.
there's always a player or two who
Well, look who it is. The guy that said he wasn't going to be available all this week. Huh.
What, did you just put words in my mouth?
I could go by the text that you sent
hold
me.
on, I'm gonna read it.
I'm going to read it too. Said I won't.
No, busy tonight.
No, busy
I'm
for
busy
the next
for the
week.
next week.
I'm busy for the next week.
No idea how the days will develop.
That's different than what you said, Gerald.
He said he's busy for the next
Did I
week.
say I wasn't coming? I said I'm busy. Now I'm not busy, and now you're gonna get a knuckle sandwich.
I'm right here. That'd be very hard for you to throw at 300 miles.
I'll be in Vegas soon.
I'm gonna need
Is
my
that a warning or a threat?
I'm gonna have to speak through the wire
Promise.
if Joe gives me a knuckle sandwich.
Hopefully, I'll be on vacation by that
I'm sitting here yapping on this guy, and everybody thinks I'm talking to Sean. I'm like, I'm not talking to Sean.
He's the one talking smack at you.
I gotta get home and tell everybody.
He knows if he was on the ice with me, no one would touch him. I'd fly around the ice. Joe, all you need to do is stand in front of the net, put your stick on the ice. We're good.
He's the Marty McSorley. He's the Marty McSorley to my Wayne Gretzky.
Anyway,
although
Gerald,
sorry, go ahead.
No. Finish their thought there.
I was gonna say I'm more. I saw myself more as a Mario Lemieux than a Gretzky, though.
You're 6'3", 250, man.
That's
like Eric Lindros.
I'm just saying I saw myself. I'm nowhere near Mario
Lemieux. But Gerald, as we know, this happens every single NBA draft, and my God, it happens every single NHL and NFL draft. There's always a player or two that ends up getting some real teams end up getting thirsty for them. I'll just use that lingo. And is there one or two players you see in this draft, Gerald, that are kind of in the 35 to 25 range right now. You could see a team or two kind of liking it because, as we know, Gerald, it's kind of
Edie. Edie is the guy.
it's a diluted draft. So I mean it is possible, however unlikely. Filipowski could be there at 17, and I'm gonna say this: if he's there at 17 and Palinka, you don't take him, I'm gonna come on this show dressed up like Popeye, and I'm gonna have a can of spinach. I'm gonna eat the spinach, get on a plane, fly to El Segundo, and have security remove me because you refused to take Kyle Filipowski and you took, oh, I don't know, Bronny James. If you do that, get ready, Rob, because I'll be flying down to El Segundo. How much is an Uber from LAX to Segundo, Gerald?
Oh, that one, that's a short trip. You could get there. That's probably $15-20 max.
Oh, okay.
It's a really short trip.
Oh,
from the airport to El Segundo. They're like right there next to each other. In fact,
Really?
you'll see many of the rental cars for the airport. They're right there near where the Lakers are.
How about from John Wayne Airport to El Segundo?
Well, that's a drive and a half. That's going to be more like 70.
Okay.
That's Orange County. That's different, man.
Have you flown into both of them?
I've flown into both of them, but I usually LAX. Okay. I've only done John Wayne once.
Okay. I heard that's a nice airport.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay. So El Segundo about $15-20. Okay. I could deal with that.
Yes. So
I'm going to find out what car you drive too.
Oh my God. All right. And on that note, Joe, we know the draft is coming up. And of course, there's a player that we do not want on that list. We understand who that is. But we talked about the need for the Lakers. If there's players available, who are you thinking as far as, has anybody else stood out to you? Again, the big names are big guys like Ware, Filipowski, Zach Edey, if you think about him at all. Your thoughts on or where the Lakers should go in and around pick 17, because it's looking more and more like the Lakers will get that pick.
We talked to Stone about this a few days back, and I can't go against my initial thought process when it comes to the 17th pick. This is the second time in a row that we're picking 17 should it finally get official from New Orleans. You have to pick best player available. That has to be the first mindset. Even though you do need a big, this draft doesn't usually big guys, and I know some things have changed in the last few years, although there is one consistent situation with the big guys that have become really good or great being picked late, like Jokic, Zubac. I think them playing outside the states, I don't know, there's been some kind of scouting issues with that. They didn't see some things that maybe they should have. But I rarely see a big that plays college basketball in the United States that gets picked late and ends up becoming the next big thing. Nothing comes to mind. Who do you guys remember that was an American ball player who was picked late, which 17 would be, or late in the first round or the second round, that became let's say a really good, maybe all-star type center?
Center, that's a good question, because if you were going to say player, I would have said Brunson. But center, that's a good question.
I think there's a.
I'm tracking
Kaman,
it.
You remember Kaman? Kaman was
Chris Kaman,
but he was picked early, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a lottery pick. Yeah.
So he's out, and then
Terrence Shannon Jr. is a player that deserves to be higher, JSJ, but because of his current rape allegations, will fall in the draft. He will be available for the Lakers, but the Lakers will not touch him. You can forget about that one.
I don't think anybody's going to touch him, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's going to go undrafted. There is way too much going on in culture right now with stuff that involves that world.
Yeah.
And no one wants that situation. I mean, look what happened with the kid, the kid that was kicking. Was it Mark Azaria from San Diego State?
Yeah.
Now, luckily, of course, Kansas City picked him up. He went to my alma mater, and they had no proof. They had no proof that this guy did anything wrong, and he got thrown to the dogs. And it's sad that that's what it comes down to, because of people, and I say the people, the people are just waiting to say stuff because they're miserable pieces of shit before they hear the details. Look what happened. Almost ruined his entire life because of allegations. He wasn't even at the party, right? So there's no chance that he's going to get looked at least for right now, until things have dissipated, if they do. And then that'll be it. But as far as the Lakers are concerned, best player available at 17. And my hope is that the best player available at 17 is a center at that point, because then you kind of kill two birds with one stone at that point, because the Lakers absolutely desperately need a functional center. Whether it's Khalil Ware, I don't believe for a
He's
second.
missing.
Filipowski's the other one. Although I'm never really comfortable with Duke players, even though they're
Joe, probably the player you were describing there, and I've been thinking it's probably the last guy was probably Al Jefferson.
He was picked late in the first, right?
He was middle. I remember he was middle.
JY is saying Draymond Green, if you consider him.
He's not a center.
No, he's a power forward. Yeah, I think it's Jefferson, because I think he was taken. If I'm not mistaken, Gerald, if you want to look it up, I think he might have been taken like actually 15th, but he was in between 15.
Yeah, you're right.
He was
picked 15th in 04.
Okay, so that's we'll go back 20 years. Like
he was just he just missed the lottery by one draft pick.
So we're going back 20 years, looking for a half decent center. That's Joe's describing here.
No, and that should be something that you factor into the decision making there. Don't pick a center at 17 if they're not the best player available at 17. If you see someone that can help, any player right now can help the Lakers, whether they're a tweener at the 3 to 4, whether they're a tweener at 1 to 2, anyone that's better at that pick, you pick them and you put them in a position to succeed, and you'll benefit from that. Now, the question for Edey will be, will he last outside the first? And since the Lakers are notorious for buying second round picks, if they see that he would go into, let's say, the first 5 to 10 picks in the second round, would they try to buy a pick then?
Or move up from the
right? Move up, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to move up for Zach Edey at
34,
say,
35,
40,
36, yeah.
Right? If he's at 40, I would. I think it's worth it at 40. But it doesn't look good, guys. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good. It's got a lot of Jahlil Okafor feels. You're trying to justify that this guy's going to work in the NBA. Oh, he just wanted Duke, and he's big, and he plays the traditional stuff. We heard this how many years ago? Right? We heard this in 2014. The game is completely different, even worse than what it was in 14. It's not looking good for his skill set in the NBA. However, if you pick him at 40, 45, whatever, the hit isn't as bad.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point indeed. Once again, it is Magic Man Chung Rights, Joe Sorrell, myself, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching this thing. The Dallas Mavericks did win 108 to 105 to go up 1-0 in their series. Don't forget, we will be back tomorrow for a recap of whatever happens in game 2 between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers. Joe, your thoughts, though, on what the Lakers are doing, currently still interviewing head coaching choices. The Dallas Mavericks in today's game clearly to me showed, and just surprising that I'm saying this, coaching superiority. They really down the stretch, Jason Kidd, we're very hard on him a lot. And so are the Dallas Maverick fans. But today, the Minnesota Timberwolves did not make the right adjustments. They kept playing the drop defense, did not execute well on offense, especially their two main guys. Darren pointed it out that Ant was supposed to go ahead and pick up the slack and did not. Same thing for Cat. So I got to give credit. And the thing is that Mika Nori is currently one of the guys that the Lakers might be targeting. This obviously wasn't a good showing for him tonight.
We have to start asking ourselves this question. Why does it seem like every team makes the same mistake when they lose? Draft coverage, not having your players in the best positions possible. Is it a coaching thing? Are they all reading from the same book because of analytics? What exactly is causing this issue? That's the question I think we need to start asking ourselves. Why? Why did Jason Kidd, who looked terrible most of the year as a coach, all of a sudden become a genius? Is it because he's winning now? Do you look better when you win? Yes, maybe. But really, what is it? I think it's a combination of a few things. Number one, they did really well in the draft last year by picking Lively. The other is their deadline acquisitions were absolutely number one in the league this year. In getting Gafford and getting guys that they really, really needed to get plugged in there to help this team kind of glue it together better. And Kyrie Irving has gone to a level I haven't seen him at since 2016. If this is the Kyrie Irving that's going to show up and Luka is doing what Luka does, is it coaching? Is it Minnesota's fault? I think at the end of the day, we have to start looking at the fact that primetime players are the reason why this is going to happen, and blaming Minnesota's coach, Finch, whoever. It doesn't. What is it? What is it really that, or is it the fact that you can't stop guys like Kyrie and Luka, and it makes it look like that you didn't coach well when you didn't stop them? That's not really how that works usually. At least not with those guys.
It's a good point. So, Magic Man, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna. That's funny,
That's Joe
Joe.
Moxia.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it's simple to us watching it. If Joe often talks about, well, if we could see it, why can't the coaches see it, right? So instead of, let me just ask you, Gerald, instead of just playing blanket drop coverage, why don't teams utilize something like a nail and stunt? Instead of dropping your center all the way into the deep paint, you put him at the nail and you stunt. Rudy Gobert is capable of doing that. Hell, Derek Lively could do that. Why don't teams just try and simplify this? I don't understand. Like it seems like it's just fundamental, Gerald, but obviously it's more complicated than we're making it out to be. Or do you think that teams just don't practice that at all, Gerald?
I don't think they practice it. I just don't think they take the time in dealing with a lot of the smaller, littler things, fundamentals. I think that they don't, like we saw yesterday with Indiana, they just didn't work on their inbound plays enough during the course of the season where, okay, if this happens, then you do this. If this happens, you do that. They just obviously didn't work on enough, and you saw what happened. They made the mistake, and it cost them the entire game.
Right, because you would think that a head coach in this position, he would have options and anticipate what would happen if it didn't work, right? But it seems like we've criticized Darvin Ham, and rightly so, for his drop coverage. I thought I thought Chris Finch did a poor job of just going to a default drop with no options at all. I mean, you have a four-time defensive player of the year, and you just revert to drop coverage. I
Yeah.
mean, Gerald, do you expect Anthony Edwards to win a Defensive Player of the Year award at some point?
No, no. I think that ship has sailed. I think especially with, as Joe said, him and I went back and forth. Wembanyama, I think Wembanyama is going to be, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to
How
be
about
winning it for a year.
McDaniels?
Oh no,
No, you don't
no.
think so? Okay, so you've got two
Certainly didn't
above.
look like it tonight, getting toasted by Luca
No, so
and by Kyrie.
you've got two above average, pretty good perimeter defenders, not great, with a four-time Defensive Player of the Year. You would think that Rudy Gobert would have the requisite smarts and instinct to try and do something about that. But I guess he doesn't have the initiative. And again, we kind of talked about these awards. I mean, Joe's been on the hill that Wembayama should have won Defensive Player of the Year award even on a terrible team. I mean, yeah, I think I think that's correct. I think if you it's like tort law, so tort basketball. If Wembayama was in the same position as Gobert, does anybody not think that he would adjust instinctually off of that drop coverage that wasn't working? I think he would have.
I think he should have played Gobert less in this game.
Yes, because I think in that instance, if you're gonna play drop coverage, I'm with Gerald. Put Cat on the perimeter and let Naz Reid do that.
Yeah.
At least Reid has size. He can block. He can have size and length at the rim. Gobert is on stilts, or I know, butter or something in the paint, Gerald. It looks awkward when Rudy Gobert plays drop coverage.
I think they just got to ditch the drop coverage, Magic Man, and they got to play Gobert less and go with Naz Reid a little bit more. I think that's where their destiny lies, and I think that they will get back to playing much better defense in that second game. But their offense is the key. They have to click. They have to figure out something on offense that's doing a lot better than what they did today. Yeah,
Yeah,
those plus minuses are misleading, Pale Fox. So
yeah.
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
I don't like the plus minus,
yeah,
the way it's calculated in the NBA.
yeah. It's. I'm just not sold. Gobert was your answer today. I think he was not that effective against what you were looking at. I mean, the team was hurt several times by him playing drop coverage, and we'll just leave it at that. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro, Magic Man Sean Grice, me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Last thing I wanted to mention was something that John and I talked about yesterday, and that was Austin Reeves hitting the golf course, carding a 75 or 76, failing to make the PGA Tour event. And so I brought up the question, and John didn't seem to mind too much because, it is the off season, but should he be really working so hard on his PGA game? Do you think he should be working more on shooting or trying to do something to effectively make his job, which he earns $14 million a year, a little bit better, a little bit more attractive so he can get better? Joe, I'll leave it to you, my friend. It is the off season, but were you kind of irritated in the fact that maybe Austin Reeves should be focusing more on the basketball court and then the golf course?
He didn't make the whatever team, right?
He didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
He was trying to qualify for a PGA Tour event and didn't make it.
I'm indifferent on this. I really don't. I
Okay.
really don't have I don't have really much of an answer to it. We saw Shaq rap and act during his time with the Lakers and Orlando. We've seen Steph play scratch golf as well. Tony Romo plays really good golf as well. You know, sometimes these guys do other things they do them real well, and maybe for him it's something to kind of keep in shape, even though golf isn't a cardiovascular type game. Just keeps your hand-eye coordination and something activity wise where you're at least not thinking, oh, I got to go on the treadmill for an hour or two. I can go walk 18 holes, burn some calories, and have some fun, and do some physical work a little bit too. I don't really have a problem with it.
Okay.
I really don't. I think the most important thing for Austin is to continue to get better. I was very proud of him during the Denver series. I thought he improved in an area where he's been struggling since the summer, and it was a tall task to do that, even if he was a good defender all year, because no one can guard elite guards like a Jamal Murray. But I thought he did as good as he could. We have to look at his situation again for what it is, and it's a guy who was picked up as a free agent who turned into a starter, and what happens after that is gravy. It's cherry on the top. He's played above any expectations, and I don't see anything outside that's going to change my mind on it. Whether he can be a piece to get better talent, that's going to be probably the big question this summer. Other than that, Austin will be a Laker if that doesn't happen, and that's, I'll be here to support him.
Magic Man, your thoughts on Austin Reeves, the golfer?
What's his handicap, Gerald?
I don't know. I didn't look it up. I just know, again, what ESPN article said.
That Alex Caruso was a pretty good golfer too.
Yeah, and I know him and D'Lo go out to the golf course and play occasionally because they're such good friends. So you tell me, man. I mean, any time on the golf course that you spend there is less time that he's practicing his 3-point shot.
What did Mark Twain say about golf? It's a waste of good pasture land. It's kind of what I think about golf.
Okay.
No, wait. He said it's a good walk wasted. My bad.
The reason why people say that is because it's an uppity yuppie game, and I get it. Golfers are
well. It's that because all the best courses are private clubs, right? Yes.
No, not anymore.
Yes.
It used to be like that. Augusta wouldn't allow women in their group for a long time until that changed.
See, all golf courses look the same to me. Like if you took me to the British Open, Augusta, the only one that's really looks different than the rest is that one in your neck of the woods, Pebble Beach.
Beautiful golf course, by the way.
Yeah, that looks like the prettiest golf course I've ever seen. But hey, Gerald, if Reeves likes it and it doesn't distract from his actual profession, I mean, good on Austin. Maybe he'll make the pro circuit after he's done playing in the NBA. Who knows? But yeah, no. I mean, if it's a good hobby for him, good on you. But I mean, I'm with Joe. I think you should stick to your actual profession and try and get better at that.
It is the one he's paid $14 million a year for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of money to play basketball. I think you'd want to maybe apply yourself more to your trade than a hobby. But that's just me and Joe and Gerald's opinion. And Gerald, before we head on out,
okay,
I wanted to ask you this
mm-hmm.
while you were mentioning it. Is this the best movie poster of all time?
What's that? Oh, Jaws?
In your opinion, because I know you're the Pop Culture Cosmos host.
It's certainly one of the top ones. I mean, I
What
think Star
would be
Wars.
your number one?
Star Wars, even though again that's just as far as iconic
Yes.
Star Wars, but Jaws is like in the top 5. I think
Okay.
and if you said number 1, I'm not going to argue on that. I'm not going to argue on that.
You have an opinion on that, Joe? Best movie poster of all time?
Mine is Goodfellas.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Where all 4 of them are in it. I have it in my loft.
And I know it just celebrated 65th anniversary, North by Northwest, because that's my favorite Hitchcock film. That I think that is obviously something
More
at
than
the time.
Psycho, Gerald.
Oh yeah, more than Psycho for me. I know Psycho's always considered the best of Alfred Hitchcock's films and one of the greatest films of all time. But North by Northwest to me created the action, the blockbuster action thriller that so many movies today try to capture the attention of audiences. So
Yeah, well, that
that's
airplane scene is it's one of the best ever in film history.
and that's what's on the poster. So that's why to me it's so iconic. But yeah, that's just me. But yeah, I'd say Star Wars. I'd probably say Star Wars. The Jaws posters is, of course, obviously right there with it. So if you thought it's number 1 or anyone else does, I couldn't fault you a bit. Birds is a good film, really good film. Absolutely, no one can argue with Hitchcock's films. Absolutely, just a master and a genius of cinema. So yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait for that 4K release, Bloodhound. I actually I couldn't see it at the theaters this time around. I've seen it in the theaters a couple of years ago, but yeah, I was able to go ahead and catch it on a late night showing here on the TV. So yes, I would love to see it on 4K. Go ahead, Matchman.
No, Gerald, I always admired Hitchcock too. I mean, if he never made Rear Window, we probably would have seen a great one. What was that one with Colin Farrell? It was a Phone Booth.
Yes.
Yeah, that one was good. I liked that one with Colin Farrell. But yeah, Hitchcock was a trailblazer.
And Joe's all about the mafia movies, so
Mhm.
you can't go wrong with that as well. So, yep. But no, great choices out there. But before we head on out, guys, it is Boston, Indiana. Sean has already told me his thoughts. Joe, Indiana have any chance at all for playing well tomorrow night?
No. They'll lose in 5 now. If they had won game 1, things could have got interesting.
How bad was that with that?
That was that Siakam
Collapse.
The Siakam not letting the ball go was one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in basketball. My brain couldn't compute the lack of intelligence in that moment.
And this is an NBA champion.
I couldn't figure it out. When I saw the replay, I said maybe he did it because he thought it was off of him. But you don't even then still let the ball go. You would have got the ball back. It was over. Just it was the worthy pass all over again for these green turds.
They always get the luck, don't they?
No, they don't. No, I wouldn't say that. After 1986.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this year that they're getting all the breaks. So I agree with Gerald in that sense.
This was not a break. This was Indiana taking a nice.
Well, with the Pacers, they could put together 45 minutes of piece de resistance basketball, but then it's 3 minutes of brain salad surgery.
They didn't even need that. They just needed 1 minute.
Needed to inbound the ball.
Yep.
And then they hit a free throw when they get fouled, and that's it. I don't know, man. I don't get it. I can't figure out how.
Even though Rick Carlisle looks like Professor X, he doesn't coach like Professor X. What's that?
He looks like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he made mistakes. Not just Halliburton, not just Siakam. Not just Nembhard. He made mistakes personally as a coach with his decisions. As Sports Baby said, and he sent me a message on. They had a timeout on that inbounds play that they could have utilized and didn't. So that in itself, just inexcusable.
Wouldn't you say Jim Carrey has a bigger skull?
No.
You don't think so? Because I remember from that movie, what was that one he played? Andy Kaufman. What was that one? Man on the
Oh,
Moon?
Man on the Moon. Yeah.
Yeah. He's bald in that one. I thought he had a bigger skull than Carlisle, but could be mistaken.
It's certain angles that just boom.
Well, with that said, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you joining us. Again, if Magic Man and Laker Dick want to do a playback tomorrow, they'll let me know and we'll get one started. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow night to wrap up the day in the NBA. But Magic Man, any last thoughts before you head on out?
You know what, Gerald? Let's hope Kyle Filipowski drops. Because that's
You really
the
like
only.
him. I can't say I fault you on that. So
Yeah, I do. And it just wasn't his play on the court. The way he handled those knuckleheads from Wake Forest when they tried to take out his knee was impressive. And I felt that would strike me as a Laker right there.
yeah. Good choice, Kurt. Yeah, I agree with you. Shaft, that's a great poster as well. Absolutely.
Shaft, yeah.
Yeah. If Indiana wins game 2, Yaikin, I'm going to say this. They've got to go ahead and take a home game because you know what? Boston has already shown throughout this playoffs that winning game 2 doesn't matter to them. They've lost game 2 in each series and just blown the opponent out on their own home floor. So, yeah. Why do we like Filipowski? Go ahead, Magic Man. Why do you like Filipowski?
Because his ceiling is very high, and he has a certain level where he is already. It's almost as if I'm not saying he has a glass ceiling, but his ceiling is really high, but his comp is that of a quality role player at center. That's the bottom for Kyle Filipowski.
Could
He's
shoot about
going to
35% for you from the outside, but his assists is really
are very, very good. He is a
really good passer.
very, very good passer. Has a good eye for the game, good instincts. I think he can be a much better defender at the NBA level than he was at college.
But it
And
wouldn't be
that's
like as a shot blocker. It would be more as a
no.
positional
It'd be
defender.
more like man defense. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So it's almost as Kyle has a high ceiling, but a very high mid level as well. He's already going to be a very good role player. He could exceed expectations if he gets in the right situation, and I think the Lakers would be one of them because if you put him beside Anthony Davis, he would instantaneously get better with more playing time with AD.
Was he a 2-year starter at Duke or just a 1-year starter?
I think it was just one.
Okay.
I think it was just one.
Because he was coming off the bench. I think they had another big man instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
See who that was.
Yeah. So with that said, though, Filipowski, I think he could be really a solid player for. I mean, Joe at 17 in a weak draft, as Magic Man looks that up, we'll be lucky to get a rotational player because I really think that we have to be very lucky this year and hit on our draft choice.
Yeah, we have to hit on the coach first.
Yes.
And I'd like to have the coach have input in that pick. For once, try to put players that will work with the coach. LeBron is LeBron. The only guy he's never been able to play with is Russell Westbrook, but that's an anomaly.
Lively started at center.
So go, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and Filipowski backed him up, but yeah.
Like I said, I think a rotational center he is. One fly says Danny Ainge. Are you sure Danny Ainge would be really waiting for Kyle Filipowski?
I don't think so. I mean,
they already have that archetype of a center already.
Yeah, you've already got Walker Kessler there. I don't know why you would draft Filipowski, especially with Markkinen as
Unless
well,
you want to
still on the
trade Markkinen.
yeah, still on the roster. So I don't see them drafting Filipowski.
And plus, at that point, Utah, where are they picking? They're going to be picking a lot earlier than the Lakers will. I think that they're looking to get more athletic and dynamic. Plus, they need shooting. Again, with Walker Kessler, he did take a step back this season, but I still think the kid is going to be pretty good as a rotational big man. Could be one of the better big men in the league if given the opportunity. But Utah is at 10. I think that's a possibility. Filipowski can go that high, but yeah, I'd probably say that they may be looking in other directions to have, especially with that seems like it's redundant.
They really need a guard that can light it up quick because they've got weaknesses on that front court. I mean, we all love Laurie Markkinen. He's an all right defender, but he's not. I wouldn't put him in like the top 10% of power forwards, small fender tweeners as a defender. Plus, John Collins just eats up so much of their cap space. They're really gonna have to eat that grill in the next couple of years with Collins because he is not getting better with age.
One fly, Ty Lue has another year on his contract. Yeah, he I don't know about the extension. Rumors had him already being offered an extension that the Clippers are going to go ahead and try to sign him to an extension, but he still has another year. The Lakers would actually have to trade assets in order to get him, which I don't think they would do, Joe. You don't. So Ty Lue, being a possibility would probably not be in the Lakers' plans.
No, not right now. The only center right now that's likely to get almost all the mocks I'm seeing, centers are going late teens and beyond.
Well, if Ron Holland, Isaiah Collier, one of those guys drops, that might be a different story.
I don't see those guys dropping that much, but I'm curious to see if Klingon will drop. But I don't think he's going to drop to 17. But that's the one I'm going to be looking at. I want to see what that turns into, and I think that'll start setting up what center will be next. I'm trying not to stick on the center thing. I keep falling into that little trap. Best player available plus best player available. And as far as the coaching situation with the Lakers,
it's not just the fact that Filipowski shot 35% from beyond the arc. He shot over 50% from the field.
Okay.
Put somebody beside that like Anthony Gerald. When was the last time the Lakers had two big men on the court together that shot over 50%? And it's not a trick question.
I don't know. That's
Lamar Odom and Pau Gasol.
Oh, there you go. I don't know if I put them in that stature, but
no, I mean no one is. But that's the last time the Lakers put two bigs on the floor that could shoot over 50%.
The only international big man that would be even close to that area, if you're not interested in Missy, Ware or Filipowski, should either of those guys be in there, is of course Zach Edey. He is the only international big man right now available around that spot. After that, if you're looking at big men, you're going to have to go to probably would be Kromke, who is out of the NBA Academy in Africa, who's a 7-footer. But he is project at the very
and Gerald, let's be frank too. There's a lot of versatility with Filipowski. He's got really good foot, like Gerald was saying. He's not a shot blocker, but he's got quality foot speed for a big at the NBA level. He can hedge and closeouts. He can also just run like a deer on closeouts as well. And we saw the Lakers have a lot of problems with that with bigs, other than Anthony Davis, who couldn't run out on closeouts. So there's a lot of versatility with Filipowski.
Jared, I'm sorry. Go ahead if you want
I was going to say M Easy. M Easy's asking about.
Yeah, Jared. Okay, so Jared is starting to look like, or his early strengths and weaknesses are very, very scary and eerily similar to JHS. His athleticism isn't good. He's kind of a tweener, but doesn't really facilitate. He's more of a
only 2
scorer.
assists. He averaged 2
Yeah,
assists.
he's not going to be a facilitator in any way. He's going to be a scorer. I think he'd be a great bench guy but his athleticism isn't there. But he is competitive. He's a very competitive player. Which, anytime I hear that, I always think of Jay Billis. Every time I hear that kind of,
he's a hard worker.
He works hard. He's a competitor. I'm like,
okay.
It's like saying, "Oh man, this guy, he has children. He's a father." It's like
he plays with his kids after work once in a while.
Yeah, what do you do? What does that mean?
Good rebounding guard, but yeah, 2 assists. That kind of makes for a point guard. That's
if he had a speed that worked, he'd probably be a lottery pick. But he doesn't. I don't think that's somebody the Lakers need.
Again, I think they should. If one of those guys that Isaiah Colliers, Ron Hollands of the world, Reed Shepherd's drop for any reason, I think that the Lakers should consider them. But most likely it'll be one of the big guys that's around there. But yeah, Terrence Shannon. If you really have thoughts on him, I think again those his legal issues are paramount at this point in time, and the Lakers would not be in their wise auspices to consider drafting him because of all the legal trouble that he's going through right now. So we'll just leave it at that. But guys, it's been a great chat, great conversation. Going about 2 hours. Again, tomorrow night, we'll go ahead and recap the day in the NBA, including what went on in Boston, Indiana. But yeah, a lot of good conversation that's out there, and glad we could provide that for you. Yes, Magic Man.
Pardon me, Gerald. Didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I will say this to our subs, new subscribers, casual viewers, and anyone else out there. If you see any mock drafts where at number 17 the Pelicans are selecting, not the Lakers, do not trust those drafts. Do not trust those drafts.
Tankathon has it right now as the New Orleans picking out of the Lakers. But again, it looks like the Lakers will get that pick because in a weak draft, it is not smart for New Orleans to go ahead and pick up that draft. What's the possibility of the Lakers trading that pick on draft night?
Okay, it's got to be. So let's do the percentages on that right now, Gerald.
Okay.
I would say it's more than 50%. I'll put it at 52% that the draft pick gets traded.
Okay.
Joe?
JSJ says 80. Joe?
Yeah, I would say the reality of the Lakers' positioning is going to be that they're going to use every asset they can to get somebody that's ready to go now.
We'll put a number on it. 60%, 75.
I'd say 70%. Yeah.
Gerald?
Definitely.
I'd say it's 60%, 60-40. That if they can move up and get a guy like Ron Holland, who's a scorer, I'd really love for them to go ahead.
I don't think he's gonna get anywhere close.
Yeah, if he drops,
and even if they did, I don't think the Lakers work that way. When have they ever traded up like that? When was the last time they did something like that?
Well, maybe they'll take a note from what
1996.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'm just saying maybe they should take note of what the Dallas Mavericks did and how they moved up or how they maneuvered the draft to go ahead and get Derek Lively.
I don't think the Lakers are capable. First of all, they're not capable of doing things like that because I don't think, other than the Bus Boys, I don't think anybody else works over there really.
I think that's a fair statement.
That's not good.
I'm laughing because I'm sad about it, Gerald.
Eric's asking about Devin Carter. Good, solid player. Could be or there 6'3.5". Good rebounding guard for point guard. It's a little bit light on the assists, which is kind of concerning. But your thoughts on Devin Carter? I mean, it's another point guard, which makes JHS redundant. So you would probably have to look to trade JHS if that's the case, Joe.
I mean, he's good in terms of ball screening situations, the ability to change speeds, maybe fool. I was reading the Bleacher Report on him, and that was some of the stuff. I haven't had a chance to really see a lot of Providence. I don't watch Providence games, but on Bleacher Report, that's some of the strengths that he had, and the weakness is he's not a very big guy. If he's listed at 6'3", that means he's probably closer to 6'1". The Lakers need. This is why it's imperative that they sign D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, despite his issues, is a solid 6'4", 6'5" guy that can hit shots. And if you're not going to get someone like that and maybe get lucky and get someone that can maybe be a little bit more productive in high times, like in the playoffs, there's really nothing else available in this draft. I don't think that's going to be able to cover it.
Anything to add on to that, Magic Man, before we head on out? Go ahead.
I have nothing more to add.
JSJ is throwing that DeJounte Murray in there.
Oh, yes, DeJounte Murray.
JHS might be the worst draft pick by the Lakers since Sam Jacobson.
How high was Sam Jacobson drafted?
It was 1998. They're probably in the high mid twos.
We really thought we had something there with Derek Character. Just didn't work out.
I mean, he's a second round pick. I don't know if
Derek Character. He's gonna.
I think JHS would be the worst.
I think JHS
26. He was selected 26.
Yeah, I think
this JHS, is worse.
Yeah, he might be the worst since Sam.
To quote the Wolf from Pulp Fiction, of course, you are a character.
Doesn't mean you have character.
I think JHS right now for me is the worst draft pick, and Maxwell Lewis isn't far behind. You guys keep telling me he has the promise. I see things in Maxwell Lewis where he doesn't score. He doesn't play defense.
Maxwell Lewis is up there with Devin Eubanks for sure.
I mean, you got to watch the G League games, and you got to get excited about the G League games for these guys. Oh yeah, JHS killed it in the G League. Maxwell Lewis, he did really good in the G League. All right, then I expect them both to do extremely well in Summer League, and we'll see what happens there.
It's like, he performed really well in Double A. Yeah. That's why we're going to bring him up to Triple A.
JSJ,
and then he performs badly in Triple A, and he's not going to be a ball player.
At least it's a cheap contract on Maxwell Lewis. It's a 4-year, I understand, but at least it's a cheap contract.
Every time I hear somebody say, he played really well in the G League, I think of that locker room discussion, Gerald, where Nick Nurse was describing how they came back in the G League to win the title, and Kawhi Leonard, an NBA champion, is just sitting there like this, just, you're talking about the G League? All right, we're good. I'm good. Like,
so, just again,
and no disrespect to anybody in the G League. It's just you're talking to a group of NBA players, and this guy performed really well in the G League, guys, and we're bringing him up. And
there's a big step. There's a big difference between the G League and the NBA. So
there is.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I just thought it was funny. That's like when I say if you score more points at the end of the game, you'll win the game. The G League is much different and not as hard as NBA.
It's right there. And on that note, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Magic Man Sean Grice, Joe Soro, me. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll be back tomorrow with more great stuff. Coming right back at you tomorrow night after the Boston and Indiana game. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on what's going on in the world of the NBA and the Lakers right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Okay.
What okay? What do you want?
You're like dun 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 dun.
Dun, 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 right across your nose.
I'll punch you right back. I'll check you